I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Thank you. Now watch this drive.
I'm normally in favor of for profit. We don't want this to be sort of a profit maximizing demon from hell.
That's right.
That just never stops.
Right.
so that's how OpenAI would.
So you want specious incentives here? Incentives that...
Yes,
like,
I think we want pro-human.
Yeah.
Let's make the future good for the humans.
Yes.
Yes, because we're humans.
Harvard's polling director told the Washington Post that the millennials he interviewed said capitalism was unfair and left people out despite their hard work. Well, yeah, it is unfair. That's kind of the idea.
Now watch this drive.
Good evening, it's Tucker Carlson. One of the first things you realize when you step outside the noise for a few days is how many genuinely nice people there are in this country, kind and decent people who really care about what's true. And a bunch of hilarious people also, a lot of those. It's gotta be the majority of the population. Even now, so that's... Wait, hold on. I can't. The problem is the transcript. The transcript is shit because it's not punctuated.
Unlistenable.
Hold on.
Speaking
Where's
of
the transcript?
punctuated,
Did you send it? You did send it. Where's the transcript?
there is no transcript. I think he's just reading the captions.
Hold on.
This is all going
God,
in. I'm gonna
what's
put all
crazy-
of it in.
That's fine.
What's crazy is that video. Like, he looks faker in that video than I've ever seen. He
Yeah, they're
almost
really
looks like
doing kind of
like a real news anchor kind of
the
thing.
the focal length makes his face look even more bloated, and it's all washed out.
Yeah, and it's very tan.
Yeah, fake tan, like super fake tan.
Yeah, like Trump orange tan.
Hold on. I'm gonna have GPT punctuate the transcript. Good evening. It's Tucker Carlson. One of the first things you realize when you step outside the noise for a few days is how many genuinely nice people there are in this country. Kind and decent people. What?
You don't look concerned enough.
It's a mostly audio medium.
Take 3.
Would have been done in 2. Good evening. It's Tucker Carlson. One of the first things Yes?
No, go ahead.
Good evening. It's Tucker Carlson. One of the first things you realize when you step outside the noise for a few days is how... Fuck you, Carl. Fuck.
Cut.
I don't think
Take
"fuck
4.
you, Carl" was in the script.
He's in my head.
It wasn't.
He's in my head
Right,
now. He's in there.
Drew's shitty
in
Tucker
my
Carlson skit. Take 4.
Good evening. It's Tucker Carlson. One of the first things you realize when you step outside the noise for a few days is how many genuinely nice people there are in this country. Kind and decent people. People who really care about what's true. And a bunch of hilarious people also. A lot of those. It's got to be the majority of the population, even now. So that's heartening. The other thing you notice when you take a little time off is how unbelievably stupid most of the debates you see on television are. They're completely irrelevant. They mean nothing. In 5 years, we won't remember that we had them. Trust me, as someone who's participated. And yet, at the same time, and this is the amazing thing, the undeniably big topics, the ones that will define our future, get virtually no discussion at all. War, civil liberties, emerging science, demographic change, corporate power, natural resources. When was the last time you heard a legitimate debate about any of these issues? It's been a long time. Debates like that are not permitted in American media. Both political parties and their donors have reached consensus on what benefits them, and they actively collude to shut down any conversation about it. Suddenly, the United States looks very much like a one-party state. That's a depressing realization, but it's not permanent. Our current orthodoxies won't last. They're brain dead. Nobody actually believes them. Hardly anyone's life is improved by them. This moment is too inherently ridiculous to continue, and so it won't. Much like my employment. The people in charge know this. That's why they're hysterical and aggressive. They're afraid. They've given up persuasion. They're resorting to force. But it won't work. When honest people say what's true calmly and without embarrassment, they become powerful. At the same time, the liars who've been trying to silence them shrink, and they become weaker. That's the iron law of the universe. True things prevail. Where can you still find Americans saying true things? There aren't many places left, but there are some, and that's enough. As long as you can hear the words, there is hope. See you soon.
Dun, dun, dun.
He just described his whole career.
Basically.
Yeah, but he's
I
over
think
now.
it's
It's done with.
No,
you know,
he's doing his own.
fired,
He's
so.
gonna start a fucking media thing. But
That's what I'm saying, though. Like, what cracks me up about that is there's tons of places that speak the truth.
yeah, watch this drive. Just name one of them.
Yeah, Watch This Drive. NPR. You know, is a really good one.
State-owned media.
That's true. So are we. I got a. I think I got like a tax refund a couple years ago. So.
He almost sounds like a leftist.
No, that's the problem, though. That's how
Everything
fascism
except for the demographic change. Everything
Also,
but that.
My favorite thing about his statement is that he's saying true things prevail. There were the debates on these things. Obviously, all of it is just like in a vacuum. He's just pointing. He's just gesturing towards things and being like, someone should really do something about that.
I've usually heard.
What is your solution?
Someone should really do something about all the damage that I've done to all of these causes.
Has anybody noticed that the American melting pot's starting to get a little too melty?
I like to take that little speech, though, and compare it directly to the Davos, I forget the gentleman's name, the guy he brought on his program that challenged all the Davos folks on taxes.
No idea.
You've seen that, right?
Maybe.
It was on Tucker's show. It never actually aired.
I'm a super fan, but I don't think so. Oh, wait, no. Is this the thing where he just, there's leaked footage, and he just never
Yeah.
refused to air because he got fucking
Yeah.
demolished? Oh yeah, so hi everybody, welcome to Watch This Drive. Tucker Carlson was fired from Fox News like 2 weeks ago. It's old news, but it's still fun. I wanted to wear a bow tie and do my worst
funny.
Carlson.
Rutger Bregman came on Tucker's show. He's a Dutch historian. He just roasted all the billionaires and stuff about, basically not paying their taxes. Like they're talking about philanthropy, they're talking about charity, blah, blah, blah. And he just went off saying, well, the most effective means in which you could affect change in your individual countries is by paying your taxes. And
Shut the fuck up.
they did not like that. So Tucker brought him on because, he's a contrarian, and he went off on Tucker saying the same thing. Like, you're owned by Fox News delivering whatever message they want you to deliver. And Tucker did not like that.
No.
Yeah. Check out the clip if you can. But
Send the clip.
yeah, what Tucker just said, and you compare that directly to his reaction to being called out, as like night and day. And this is like within, I don't know, a couple years apart. It's like, dude, shut up.
His bit, like the reason that he is so successful at what he does is his very specific lane of saying pretty much nothing, acknowledging the fact that stuff is bad, very rarely actually communicating any specific solution or root cause other than just extremely vague shit. But when he does, it's dog whistles. It's dog whistles to just like outright racism, xenophobia, anti-Semitism.
Yeah, like a lot of the things that he was saying, I've heard the exact same things from climate activists. Like the most important subject of our time is not even being discussed. We're talking about dramatic, extinction of millions of species of animals, insects, what have you, and we're not even
You're talking about drag
it.
shows, right?
You literally hear very, very similar refrains from a lot of different activists that are covering subjects like corporate control, cronyism in government, and you'll hear Bernie talk about it once in a while, but for the most part, it's just, it's not really covered on our major networks.
I think I just read the other day that Michigan they announced there's like 38 extinct species as of like last week. Like there was just like 38 new extinct species.
None of my friends.
Ocean temperatures have hit their highest ever on record.
You guys want to go swimming?
Yeah.
It's pretty nice out there.
Yeah.
Blank slate shit that you can kind of graft whatever you want on if you lean a certain way by watching him. I've seen it with people that I know that like him unironically. That's exactly what happens, right? Oh, he's saying things that nobody else is willing to say. He's not actually saying anything.
No, it's not.
He's just, stoking certain fears, and all the right wing can do is say these things are bad and point the finger at whatever group is lower than you on the social hierarchy or the moral hierarchy. All that mainstream like liberal left can do is be like, oh, well, look at the right, they suck, right? And so it's just and we just go around in this fucking circle. And I'm not saying anything profound there. Tucker is like one of the most perfect distillations of that.
It reminds me of the Destiny. It was a panel, but Destiny, that liberal, I don't know what you want to call him.
Child.
Sure.
Destiny's Child.
No, it's the guy with the blue hair.
Lost
He's always
soul.
debating. He's coming from a left point of view, but he was on a panel. Alex Jones is also there,
Allegedly.
and they got into it. And the clips that I've seen, Destiny is basically pointing out that Alex Jones says a lot of things, but what actually is he trying to get his listeners to do? What are the actions that can actually affect change other than
Support the show.
Buy his supplements,
support the fight. We're
and
doing
Alex
the InfoWar.
went completely silent because he is there to stir shit. Like, that's it. Like, his point is to stir shit so he can sell supplements. Like, there's no meaningful change that he's trying to affect. It's just, which is really freeing if you think about it. Instead of focusing your activism on trying to move, trying to progress, trying to affect change, you just focus it in on selling something, and then you can just say whatever the fuck you want. You can like make up anything.
Speaking of which, wedocrime.com/merch. You can get you. It's not up.
It's not up, but it will be, right, Drew? By the episode Monday?
I don't know, man.
The episode's release day?
By episode Monday.
I don't know.
By episode 32's release day on Monday? I'm kind of envious of the Alex Jones types, because who wouldn't want a job like that?
Well, it's easy as hell, and a lot of the times, like, you would look at those things and be like, "Oh, I can't believe somebody would sell their soul to that. Like, how could you be so devoid of a human soul? It's most of them know exactly what they're doing and why they're doing it. It's very hard to hide from it. I mean, they can kind of justify it to themselves a bit. I would not really want to do that, but then you see some of the paychecks, like you see some of the actual numbers, like with Steven Crowder, which I think we should also talk about a little bit with his recent situation. It's like $40 million was the deal. It was the amount offered to buy him out by the Daily Wire. And she just was like, this is insulting. There's just so much money in it. There's so much cash because because of like, there is a decent demand for it, even though it's a small percentage of the population, it's still millions of people, and there's not a lot of people that are willing to debase themselves in this way.
Here's the thing though, like Steven Crowder, I'm not going to put him in the same lane as Alex Jones, because Steven Crowder is actually trying to affect change, and we fundamentally do not agree with the change he's trying to affect. But if it were up to Steven Crowder, white nationalism and everything, but he would have us all in marriages between a man and a woman. We're all Christians.
I need to let me see your genitals before you go into that bathroom.
Yeah. Like no transgenderism, no LGBTQ is wiped out. Just completely eradicated from the face of the planet. But
whether or not he actually believes that shit. I think possibly. But at the end of the day, if he did get what he wanted, the money would dry up.
For sure, because who wants to hear what the life that everyone's already living? It's like.
The state will handle that once.
There's no contrarianism to it.
Once you get your theocracy, and NPR will handle that.
But with Alex Jones, there's really no consistency other than Second Amendment. That's his only platform that he, without doubt, will favor or will promote. Yeah. He's fairly consistent with his conservatism as far as anti-abortion and Christianity or what have you. But for the most part, his issues, he's all over the place. Take an anti-vax stance, for instance. He's consistently anti-vax, but that doesn't mean he's anti-big pharma. I mean, he talks about supplements. He talks about drugs all the time. He talks about ivermectin. He talks about like any sort of even, ivermectin is not small pharma. I mean, we're talking like hydroxychloroquine or whatever. Like any drug that for some reason the right aligns with and he smells it out in the ether or whatever, he'll promote that.
It's just crowdsourced contrarianism, and you just kind of wait to see what sticks, and then you lean into it.
If you listen to his initial coverage of COVID and it breaking out in China, he was actually terrified. Well, maybe he wasn't terrified, but he definitely tried to instill fear in his listeners. He doubled, tripled down. Like this, if this hits here, we're dead. He played audio clips, which turned out to be completely false, that were supposedly like street recordings of China with people like screaming, blood was coming, like it was some sort of horror movie. Just in general, like you could hear like the echoes of the street and just
everyone
people
has
like
the thing in
groaning and screaming. It's just like it's wiping out the entire population.
People's heads are
coming off their bodies and they're crawling around in the ceiling. It's crazy.
And he was talking about how nothing about a Wuhan lab or bioweapons, nothing about that. It was basically like this is a naturally occurring thing and we need to stay away from it because it's going to wipe us all out. And then he went on to
a lot of the racism shit was like, wow, it's because they're so densely populated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Obviously, he pivoted to support whatever was in fashion at the time.
vogue,
as far
yeah.
as,
Well,
like-
and that's in
Yeah.
general. We've talked about this, I think, before. But the shift that happened, where the initial kind of wave from the right, including with DJT, our boy, they were originally on opposite sides of it because the Democrats were like, no, the like fear around the virus, like it's racist and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of the fear mongering, of course, was from the right, and the right was thinking, oh, okay, well, we can really do the whole like anti-China stuff, and that's going to be our angle here, and the stoking fears of like dying from this virus. But then something happened. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that the right just has such a strong, latent like anti-vax population ready to go. It was like way easier to align with that. It was way easier to align against like shutting down businesses or like making you stay home for like week. Like that was the tyranny.
Even the
even though it was like we're under like a Republican president, but who gives a shit?
The anti-vax right though was not a staple of the right. That was more of a crunchy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone in the 90s.
I thought that was like sort of a crunchy thing, but also like later in the 2000s was more of
the
like,
autism thing, the Jenny McCarthy thing.
Well, and the religious
Yeah,
freedoms
maybe,
and the
maybe a little bit of that, but I feel like just a lot of people kind of bought into some of the vaccines aren't doing anything, and stuff like that. So why jab your kid,
Well, the cocktail thing.
measles
was
aren't even
always big.
around anymore. Why
Yeah.
do I need a measles vaccine?
Randy, you probably ran into the same issue like when our kids were young.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there was a lot of back and forth on should
Yeah.
you give them
Are you
this
gonna
vaccine
do it?
versus
Are you gonna
that
do it?
vaccine?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like your doctor actually gave well, a lot of people are not doing it now.
Yeah. But if you look at outbreaks like mumps, measles, a lot of those rubella stuff like that, outbreaks that are more in recent past, it was the Pacific Northwest, it was Vermont. It was all the crunchy centers. It was all the hippies.
Yeah.
Because those are the people that weren't vaccinating their kids. In the 90s, in the late 90s, it was all like my friends, like all like the punk rock, contrarian, like
Thanks a lot, assholes.
anti-establishment, those types that were totally staunchly anti-vax.
Yeah,
And then
I don't want to put those chemicals in my body.
Yeah,
Takes a hit.
it was
Takes-
like,
it
you know,
takes
it was
a
a-
rip of the bong.
Yeah, it was a wellness
Carl,
kind of.
that comes from the earth. Fuck off.
It comes from the earth, bro. I
comes from the
grew up in my
earth.
backyard.
You know what else comes from the earth?
Ivermectin.
Cyanide.
Take a
Yep.
hit.
Take a hit. Anyway,
The
it was
berries that
curious,
come from the
and
earth kill ya.
yeah, I think Crowder shares a little bit of that, but I would not paint him with the same broad brush. I'm actually more terrified of the Crowders and Tuckers of the world than Tucker not as much though, because he is pivoting. I think he's more of an Alex Jones than Crowder at this point.
It's like
But,
Alex Jones. It's like the light beer version of Alex Jones.
Yeah, like
The water version.
the Daily Wire folks, the Crowder folks, those are even more terrifying to me than
They do have a
than Alex
political
Jones.
agenda.
Wait, I want to segue. I want to like completely go off the rails here.
Go
a
for it.
second, because you just made me think of something like the light beer thing. Did you hear I think it was on NPR. There was a story recently about, is it Miller High Life that they call themselves?
The champagne of beers? Yeah.
Did you hear this?
Yeah. Can't call them that.
No,
Unless
no.
it's from Champagne-Wa, France.
Yeah, like they sent over like cases, Germany ordered like cases, and it got stuck in customs in France because it said the champagne of beer on
love
it.
it.
They basically just dumped it all out and trashed it and said you can't call
It's
it.
the only beer story that matters to me.
It's just fucking hilarious. I laughed so hard.
That was their
anyway.
Boston Tea Party.
It was so funny. I was like, "Are you
Pouring
kidding me?"
High
And
Life
also-
into the fucking-
And first of all, the champagne of beer. Like, I'm not a beer drinker.
No, that's fine.
That's
and
been,
I
I
that's
like
been
it.
their slogan for
I like
forever.
It's a
I
good
know
slogan.
it has, but
It's a good
I know
bit.
it has, but like even I think when they coined that, it's like there were better beers,
Of course, yeah.
Like how are the
They
fuck
weren't
are
serious.
How the fuck are they No, they are serious. That's the thing. Like it's still printed on their fucking boxes.
They're not champagne in any stretch of the imagination.
No.
Are they going to change? Is Miller going to change it to sparkling wine of beer?
They're changing it to the Macron of beers.
Sparkling
The
wine.
sparkling wine of beer.
I think that's so funny though that there is that whole like I guess law, so to speak. Yeah, it is a law over in France where if it's got a champagne
It's the same with
name,
cognac. You can only.
yeah, it has to be like made.
Well, same with Scotch, actually.
So
for
how does
matter.
that? How did that
Yeah.
happen? Is it that's a French? They're trying to protect their own
It's
branding
a city,
as
yeah.
a country,
It's a city
or
in
is,
France, yeah.
or is it
anything.
Or actually, it's a region.
is
isn't
it, is it a private company that owns all the vineyards?
No, it's. I mean, yeah, it's a wine region, kind of like Sonoma or something. Yeah, they're trying to protect their kind of like their patent, their copyright. You know.
Yeah.
It's just cracked me up. Anyway, we can go back to Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
No, the only one other thing I wanted to say about Steven Crowder is he's getting divorced, and some of the stuff about it is pretty fucked up. Like, he was clearly controlling and emotionally abusive. You know, no way.
Wasn't he
like,
physically abusive as well?
I'm
Or is it
not
just
sure
straight
about that.
emotional abuse.
There's
I'm not
some
sure.
accusations possibly, but
There was some video on the emotional abuse, right? Recently.
yeah, he's just
Yeah.
a dick.
I didn't
piece of
watch
shit.
it.
And apparently, like,
I
they
don't
only
like
have
watching that
one
stuff.
car, which is, you know, classic.
So weird.
Emotional. You know, you got millions of dollars. You got one car for your whole family because you want to be able to control the movement of people that aren't you in your life. Allegedly, the way he talked about it was very telling and kind of funny in a dark way, where he was like, yeah, and my wife wants a divorce, and in Texas, if somebody wants a divorce, they can just have one. Like, yeah, Steven, I'm sorry that
Don't have
the
to ask
state won't
permission.
compel your wife to fuck you. I'm sorry.
It's that whole.
I know,
that
it's
whole,
terrible.
Like Steven Crowder just found out that she doesn't need his permission to divorce him, type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like-
exactly.
I had
that's
no
exactly
idea.
How he
I
put it,
would
yeah.
never have. He specifically calls out Texas as if like he's gonna get people to change the law. He's gonna appeal to the courts.
Yeah. The thing about the video between him and his wife, I wasn't as like, oh, Steven Crowder's a piece of shit, blah blah blah. Both of those people, they're terrible people. Both
Sure.
him
No,
and his
you would
wife.
imagine birds of a feather,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
That sounds kind of mean, but there's a lot of relationships that I've been exposed to. A lot of friends of mine that have dated. You know, it turns into that. There's like this weird. It's not exactly a lack of communication, but it's just like this really vile, narcissistic, petty bullshit that they fight about, and they, you know, make mountains out of molehills. Just utter disdain and disrespect for one another.
Yeah.
And that was totally that conversation. It's just like, why are you guys even together? Like,
Well,
what are
no,
you
they didn't.
doing?
They didn't realize they were allowed to leave. No,
but I agree with-
if
I
you're
agree
just
with you.
joining
One of
us,
them didn't.
hello. If you're just joining us, you're listening to three white guys blame the victim.
Yeah. No, but like to your point, Randy.
No, I mean both of them.
you know-
I just didn't think that it was like, it's just not a healthy way of talking to one another. Like, you
no,
need to you need to seek
It's not
therapy.
not a
It's
happy marriage.
Yeah.
It's extremely common though with couples. You know, with my partner, and you know, we're very, very civil. We have a lot of respect for each other. We don't really fight or anything like that. We don't get snarky with each other and whatnot. But like some people, man, it's like, you're right. Why are you together? You know, like I don't understand it.
I'm sure when kids are
I
involved,
get it.
it's
Yeah,
Well,
it is tougher when kids are involved.
It is tougher when kids, but I'm talking like when, you know, like it's, I don't know, when people like make comments about their partners, sometimes they say snarky stuff when they're by themselves, like, oh, the ball and chain, or
yeah.
you know,
The
something
my
like
wife's a
that. It's
bitch
like,
guy. Like, I will never.
yeah,
You should be,
Or
you
the-
should be locked up.
And not to you know, be like a man's rights bullshit, but my wife has some friends that do that a lot about their husbands, and it's like, why are you
Leave.
why are you even with this dude?
Leave.
yeah.
Like, you have
mean,
nothing but negative things, nothing but like
Yeah.
eye rolls, and like you did that, and it's always
guys
that like
hate each other. You
typical
fucking hate each other.
husband, you know?
You hate each
Yeah,
other.
it's kind of, it's like the Everybody Loves Raymond stuff, you know.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
the-
exactly.
The man is the idiot. But you know, we have like pest control come out for bugs and stuff, and we had
Are they in the room with you now?
And I was like, yeah. Well, anyway, we had this guy.
Drew,
he
you're
was
one to
new.
talk.
He was new when he came.
No,
over
I mean,
and
like
he
your
was
voice got really quiet, as if you're like it's 10:40. Like, I don't know who you're.
I was deciding if I was
probably
going
are.
to say what pest control it was. Anyway, they came over and it was a newer guy. He
kids.
hasn't been here before, and you know, I was like, yeah, well, you know, hey, have a nice day. Hopefully, you know, you're not working too much today because it's like a Saturday or Sunday. And he's like, oh yeah, you know, the quicker I get done here, the faster I get home to the list of things my wife has me. And I just kind of was like,
Exactly.
I just kind of looked at him and I went,
You're not being legally
Like-
compelled to.
no, it's like
I'm not going to
oh,
commiserate with you on that, man.
It's like oh, the list of things you mean take care of the home? Like
Yeah, are you
like that
are you
kind of
referring
stuff?
to the house you own together?
Yeah.
If my wife wasn't around, my house would be a shit fucking storm. It would just be
it
absolutely
fucking
trashed all the
kills
time.
me. It drives me nuts. These types of people. It's like
Yeah. It's like literally nothing but negative things to say about this.
And the list is usually just the most fucking benign, easy shit.
That's what I meant. But
something
back
you
to
put off for like a year.
Yeah, back to the Crowder thing. It's like your guy, which I mean, it's ridiculous. And Crowder was definitely borderline.
Oh, no doubt in my mind that
bad.
he is at fault.
He was the bigger agitator in the mix in that video. But It's like you guys are arguing about like who can take the car out. Like,
just buy another car.
But that's the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that presumably Mr. Crowder controls the finances and the vehicle situation.
Yeah.
And he's in a position of more power, and his political leanings obviously lend themselves to one where like the wife is subservient. He used the term like wifely duties, like that shit. Like he's a fucking piece of shit, asshole motherfucker. But I'm sure that she has similar political beliefs that, you know.
Oh, what? Yeah. Where the gloves comment that kept on coming up?
Yeah, with like some sort of medicine that like defeats.
Yeah, supposedly like I think he's of the belief that pregnant women can't handle certain medicines. So
or she was like uncomfortable doing it, and like he was very dismissive of it. I don't know.
There was a lot of like that kind of old school controlling, you know.
Yeah. I don't want our podcast to turn into like E-News for conservative pundits.
I know. This is kind of okay. So album on display.
Afterward, I want to talk about.
All right. Right now, album on display is a big blob of color. But I was looking at it earlier though. From here, it's turquoise or green or something like that. Background, there's like a pattern on it, something like that. But then there's like a weird shape. It's got, I don't know. It's like it almost looks like a half moon at the bottom, but there's like 4 points on it. Looks like maybe a juniper lily in the middle, or some leaves or something like that. I don't know.
Do you know what it is? Because you said something that was. Are you messing with me again? Did you already figure it out?
There's like it looks like there's like 4 leaves on one side and 4 on the other.
Carl knows.
It reminds me of June.
Of a June, not just any June though, like June of a specific year.
Yeah, like 45 or something like that.
All right, you bastard. So yeah, it's June of 44, 4 great points.
I don't know what's so great about them.
There's a trend of me doing like a nostalgia trip. This album was released in 1998. It's their 3rd album. And June of 44 is a lot different than like last episode I featured Braid, which is more like pop punk emo. This is, it's very down-tempo rock, but people call it orchestral pop. They're on Quarter Stick, which is in league with, it's like a Touch and Go subsidiary, but they're in league with like Rachel's or Dirty Three, or a lot of these bands that maybe even mix like cello or violin or something along those lines. And
one would say it's a consistently inventive record, and one that carries a level of emotion that's rare in a genre often plagued with detached, highly textured noodling.
There you go. That's exactly how I would describe it as well.
As well as Salon. Salon would describe it like that as well.
Okay, all right. In any regard, I would highly recommend checking this out if you're into down-tempo orchestrated music that's very, very much rooted in rock.
Yeah, it's a hypnotic blend of rock, dub, ambient, and orchestral pop.
Hypnotic is a very, very good descriptor.
That's not, I'm just reading off the Wikipedia, folks.
I know you are.
Folks. I gotta say it like folks.
But yeah,
folk off.
Really, this era, this like late 90s era on Quarter Stick, it was a pretty formative set of records.
I mean, it was produced by Bob Weston, so, you know, what do you expect?
Do you know?
I have no idea who Bob Weston is.
Okay.
I'm just reading the Wikipedia page.
All right, well, he was actually the bass guitarist.
He's bearing his soul to us, Carl.
He was actually a bass guitarist of a band that we featured not too long ago. 2 episodes ago? Shellac.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Shellac, yeah.
Yep, he's the bass guitarist in Shellac. Shellac actually has a similar kind of vibe, but they're a lot more aggressive, a lot more abrasive. So this is a lot more smoothed out. And I mean, we're talking like songs that might be like 7 minutes long and like maybe 1 beat, and then just kind of like letting you letting you live in that moment for a while. Really
So-
good, like putting it on, just kind of chill out, relax.
I've never heard of this band before. The Wikipedia says that they're more like a math rock band typically. So is this album still in that math rocky feel, or is it kind of something new and different, from their previous works?
I would say
I'm not. I that was a legitimate question.
no.
I'm not-
I think it's right in line with their previous works.
that-
It's a little more smoothed out than Engine Takes to the Water and Tropics and Meridians.
How would you
which-
compare it to Mars Volta?
Mars Volta is a lot more, a lot faster, a lot more abrasive, a lot more hardcore aesthetic. This is a lot more smoothed out, still distorted guitars, but tempos are a lot slower, and just in general, it's
Still gets in the weird time signatures. and
it
stuff.
does, but it kind of grooves out on them for a while.
Okay.
I would say in comparison to like Mars Volta would be like a swing band. This would be more like Miles Davis kind of blue, just very
Okay.
smooth.
Yeah, I
out.
get you. Yeah, I get you.
But Miles Davis kind of blue did experiment with some different modes and stuff like that. But it's
I will
smoothed out.
agree with you that Miles Davis did kind of blue, but
Jesus Christ.
it's not. It's a good album. Actually.
Yeah. So, yeah, check it out.
Oh, that's
All right,
cool.
Drew, pivot to your thing. Let's get off this damn album on display.
Oh, I wanted to talk about
Murder Carl.
something that's some Vercel stuff.
No, fuck Vercel.
Talk about technology for once.
I want to talk about
technology
It's been like a
podcast.
billion years since we
Vers-
talked about technology.
Vercel is on our shit list today.
Wow. Why?
So
it is Vercel, by the way. It's absolutely 100% Vercel.
So Vercel this week has their ship week, which is basically their way of saying every day for these 5 days they're going to be doing new announcements, product launches, etc. And as a person who likes Vercel, likes using Virtual very, very much, I was very excited. And it's only Tuesday, and so by the time this comes out on Monday, there will be more things that happen. But so far, the big thing that's relevant to us is on Monday they announced Vercel's storage, and so this is for people who don't know, Vercel is essentially this platform where developers, specifically aimed at front end developers,
It's a
and
hosting platform.
It's a hosting platform, and they provide a lot of like good DX developer experience stuff, and they wrap AWS and other big cloud providers, and they make it a lot easier to use. And they provide a bunch of polish on top of it that makes it very easy to deploy things. For example, every time you create a new branch in your code base, you get a new deployment for that. That's completely isolated from everything else, so you can review changes kind of separate. And that's kind of hard to set up on your own. They charge for that convenience a pretty hefty premium. Like their actual usage costs for bandwidth and everything are pretty high in the industry. Generally it's worth it, especially for small applications. And then if you scale to a certain level, then you can usually negotiate the price down. The storage offerings that they introduced, and they are trying to become more of a holistic platform, are threefold. They announced Vercel KV or Vercel KV, which stands for key value. That's essentially a way to get really low latency read and writes to a simple value storage system. In this case, Redis, which it's built in partnership. It just sits on top of a service called Upstash, and you'll see that that's a trend with these products. The next thing that they announced is Vercel Postgres. So Postgres SQL is a type of database that's very popular, and they are offering this on top of Neon DB, which, similar to Upstash, is a modern set of tools for hosting Postgres in a quote-unquote serverless way. Scale to zero, relatively cheap pricing. You don't have to worry about scaling. You can branch it 6,000 ways. And then also blob storage. So this is where you would store anything that you don't need to query directly, anything that isn't relational, or you don't really care that much about the latency, bigger things like videos, audio, big JSON files, etc. And that's built on top of Cloudflare's R2. And so all of those products are built on top of another product, which is fine. Vercel itself is based largely on top of other Cloudflare and AWS technologies. So nothing new there. The difference here is that the things that they've built on top of already do provide like a pretty good developer experience. So they're providing some extra convenience on top of those things, but not a ton. That's still okay. What's not cool is how much they're charging, because you can see the pricing for those underlying services in Upstash, Neon, and R2, And across the board, they're charging between 100% and 200% for most metrics, like the incoming storage and outgoing data transfer. In the case of R2 specifically, R2, their main selling point to the developer is that we don't charge for egress. We don't charge for bandwidth going out, which is massive because that's traditionally one of the hardest things to estimate, one of the costs that can rack up the most quickly. And it's also one of the most expensive costs. The biggest player in that space is AWS's S3. And I think they charge, it varies based on the specific type you're using in the region, but like 9 cents per gigabyte going out generally. R2's is free. And I think their storage is actually even cheaper than Amazon S3. Vercel, which is just using that under the hood, is charging 15 cents a gigabyte in egress. And it's crazy because you can everyone can see that. Everyone can see the distance between those things. And for context, all of those services underneath the hood, doing it yourself probably takes an extra 5 hours. It is annoying because you have to maintain all those different accounts and set up a lot. So there's some more tooling stuff you have to do manually, but certainly it's not worth the upcharge that they're going for. And so I'm just kind of fascinated by the strategy there.
It's yet another angel shot out of the sky by the arrow of capitalism.
I mean, I don't think...
Never meet your heroes, folks.
If you go to Vercel/buy/we do crime, you can get 10% off.
This week's sponsor. No, we use them. We use them because they're good to use. They're reliable and they're easy and fun to use as a developer.
Yeah, our website is hosted by or on Vercel. Yep.
And we've used them on several other sites, but I will admit that there are times where they just turned on some of the pricing for some of the things, and the cost did kind of skyrocket on a few things at certain spots. But
they figure when it comes to these storage products, if you are somebody who is willing to roll these things on your own, because their audience is primarily front end and they're trying to expand more into back end. So they've got serverless compute, edge compute, React server components in Next.js, that really blurs the line even more between front end and back end. That's kind of their vision overall, is that they can make these things very easy and accessible to other types of developers and reduce essentially the amount of cost that it actually takes from a development perspective to build these things. And so that's, I think, where the premium comes in. But if you look at just Cloudflare's pricing in general, Vercel charges 40 cents per gigabyte in egress. You host it on Cloudflare Pages, which does not have the same level of developer experience, but they have unlimited free bandwidth. So
it's
not worth it.
Is Cloudflare that hard to wrap around? Is it that hard to utilize?
No, I mean it's not
It
really.
Seems like there's a lot of services that are basically just wrapping Cloudflare and charging a lot.
Yeah,
one of our client services.
That's the new web, Randy. They basically they find a product that works really, really well, and then they wrap it, and then they sell something based.
That's what most of the GPT products that you're seeing.
That's what every GPT product is.
But GPT isn't just the service that GPT is providing. Isn't simply a user interface wrapped around an R2 bucket. It's a lot more sophisticated than that.
It can
this
be.
seems like highway robbery.
Yeah.
Well, no, the pricing
this seems like you buy a Pinto and then you put plastic on it to turn it into a Lamborghini, and then you try to.
Well, because what makes sense to me, so for a GPT wrapper, the pricing, if they're going to charge you $10 a month, and they add they have all these prompts built in, and they do these extra things, they plug into other services. They've done a lot of upfront work or whatever. Fine, whatever. But
yeah,
if you are an infrastructure company, or you are selling infrastructure to somebody, you're charging for usage. And your underlying service is essentially free, and you basically are just hoodwinking them because it would not be that difficult. You're not actually providing that much value on top of this thing.
Yeah, and how much maintenance is? I mean, I understand that up research and development and actually developing the thing that you're now trying to amortize over. There's probably not a tremendous amount of maintenance to actually get it, to continuously.
No,
improve
Cloudflare
it
does the
anything.
maintenance.
Yeah, so you're already done with your part. So are you just trying to amortize your costs faster? Is the price?
What do you got? You got
the price will never go down. That's the thing. The price will never go down. So.
No, you got a little bit of customer service, maybe. You got a little bit of a little bit of backroom work. But no, I mean, for the most part, it's just a little bit of R&D and a lot of marketing.
That's the days where you could just get some hosting for $10 a month, and then
you still can. You 100,000% still can.
You can, but it's just not as good anymore. You know what I mean?
Look at well, I mean, even there's kind of in the middle companies as well, in the middle providers like Railway or Fly.io. you can stand up your more traditional long-running servers, and you can either scale it really easily or do auto scaling, right? And you can just, I think for a lot of small, I think one of the biggest selling points of serverless is that you are only technically paying for what you use, but the downside is that at scale it tends to be pricier, although you save money on like engineering and DevOps and stuff. So either way, like the economics are going to work out so that they're going to get you, right? But I do think that the serverless kind of world is a bit overhyped, although I do enjoy using it very much. It's very easy. And the scale to zero thing for side projects, like if you're a person who does a lot of little things, serverless is great because generally you're not going to hit your free tier limits. And if it stops being used entirely, you don't really have to worry about it. You're not paying for it because there's no requests hitting there's no instances ever getting spun up. Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately up to everybody how to handle that. It's just looking at the specific economics of this particular announcement is, I'm just kind of scratching my head.
Did you say that serverless is overrated?
No, I think that I think it certainly makes things a lot more accessible for the average developer.
He has grown up so much.
I'm still going to use it. I'm still going to use it for those things.
For hosting though, if you're an individual, like, I mean, I just looked it up just to verify, but I know you're Next.js and both of you guys are all Next.js and everything, but
yeah,
if you did like Gatsby with Netlify, it's free up till I think you get like 500 gigs.
Well, you get a free terabyte out of Vercel, right? Like that's
so there's still options, you know.
There's
free. My main point.
There's free limits. Yeah. It's like there's a weird middle. So there's like if you have very little traffic, you can do all this stuff for free, right? If you're enterprise, you have negotiating power. But there's this like weird zone in the middle where we often fall in is like you break the free tier. And then it's like, okay, well now we're paying $400 a terabyte out.
We just started hitting that on one of our projects because we migrated 2 parts of it. It was one of 3 parts was on Vercel, and then we brought the other 2 parts over, and then suddenly our costs went from like pretty much nothing to like a couple $100 a month now, which
but that's
in
nothing.
the grand scheme of things
it's a fortune.
Is nothing.
We're still talking about millions of visitors a month though.
No.
And we're also talking about a Fortune 500 company.
I understand that. I'm just saying
Fortune 50 company.
It's just kind of alarming though when you start getting those emails that are like, oh, you've reached your limit within the first like 3 days, and then it's like now you're getting charged $40.
The emails are annoying. I don't want the emails.
Yeah,
just charge.
Well, it's what but it's crazy. They're like, oh, you're hitting 40. It's $40 here, $40 there.
Yeah. Well, that was nothing in comparison to the Google API costs.
Oh my God, what was it, $75,000?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Per month, yeah.
Oh, it's a good thing someone took care of that.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody with a bow tie took care of that.
That's right. But thank you, Tucker. Thank you, Tucker, for fixing some of those caching problems.
That's episode 32, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I wonder where our trump cards are at.
Oh, there was a second generation of trump cards that was rolled out.
Yeah, I know. I talked about that.
Yeah, the trump cards are just done. Yeah.
Should have sold.
They killed it. Well, the second generation's sexier, right?
Mine's back up to 2. It's at 262.
Yeah, his dick is in one of them. It's a rare one, and his whole dick and balls are in it. That's true.
So like Dick Cheney and who?
God damn it.
Okay, fine.
End of 2022, we made some predictions. What do we think? Status of those predictions?
Which predictions?
Twitter isn't going to fail.
Elon Musk is still alive.
Eventually.
Elon Musk has not yet been killed by one of his
NFTs are done.
debtors.
I think NFTs are even worse than they were at the end of.
I said they were gonna be done, didn't I?
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's one of our predictions. Yeah,
it's pretty close. I don't think it's like dead, but it's on its
I think crypto is in even worse shape than it was at the end of 2022.
Yeah, did you hear like about the Coinbase stuff?
What specifically?
So they're taunting the SEC essentially.
Oh yeah. I think
where the SEC is like, we're gonna like these are unregulated securities. It's like, it's about fucking time for one, but for another, the Coinbase people were like, oh well, if you want to regulate us, we'll beat you up in court or whatever. And it's like, I don't know if that's the best strategy, friend.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to do that.
I think crypto pretty much died once, and this was like recent, maybe like 2 years ago, maybe 3. when the big investors basically just started buying into it, and then they just control both markets now. There was a point when, you know, it was just, you know, average people for the most part and tech nerds that were like making a bunch of money. But then like that bubble went really high, it burst, and then people like Warren Buffett and shit were like, you know, buying Bitcoin, and freaking Elon Musk buying Dogecoin or whatever. And then next thing you know, one of them says anything, and then it's a pump and dump scheme. And then they do the same shit that they do in the fucking stock market. So
like any
I feel
Ponzi
like,
scheme, I
just feel like it's no different anymore. You know, there's nothing special about it. It's owned by the elite already.
You need to start with like a group, and you need a bigger group underneath them and a bigger group underneath them, and you have to keep moving the bag down. And the Super Bowl
shaped like a pyramid, right?
Exactly. The Super Bowl, not this most recent one, but the one before it, with all of the crypto ads, which were conspicuously absent this year. That was sort of the last group, right? Like that was trying to get all of the celebs in, trying to get the biggest like mass market. So everybody jumps in, new money floods into it. That's who all these like big institutions or like bigger players or whatever are selling to. The last group, that's who they sell to. And then from there, there's no more market. There's no more people to sell it off to. And so they're the bag holders. And then there's the crash.
And it's the same fucking game. The elite own all of the revenue, the avenues of capital. It's not, you know, even digital currencies.
That's the pitch of like, it's going to decentralize like value itself in currency. It completely ignores the fundamental incentives of capitalism itself, which is for it to concentrate. And it ignores the fact that you're grafting this onto a system where all of the wealth is already concentrated. So this is just a new vehicle to express that domination of markets.
In simple terms, you can't decentralize something that's already centralized. Yeah.
No, you can't. Why? Yeah. You can't do that with tech. Like the technology itself is not.
But they're talking about decentralization when it comes to like the Fed or government, you know, state banks or stuff like that. That's not where wealth is concentrated. Wealth is concentrated by like 20 individuals across the planet.
But it's like those banks, like those are those same people. Like it's the same groups of people.
It's the same entities.
And this is the point that I make all the time with like people who are like in the bottom right of the political spectrum or whatever, is like you want to abolish essentially state control, and you're like the concept of the state itself. You want to abolish central banking, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I understand where that's coming from. The problem is those things didn't just pop into existence spontaneously. They were put in place to protect capital owners for the most part. And so if you took those things away, but you did not remove the profit incentive, you did not remove private property ownership, the means of production, those things would get put back into place a week later. They might look a little bit different in the same way that feudalism transitioned into capitalism as we currently know it, but the end result would still be the same.
Exactly. Yeah. Private wealth rules. That's it.
We think it's awesome.
I mean, even when the Bitcoin was there, it's like when it was really expensive. It's like these dudes with like billions of dollars don't care. You know, they can buy as many Bitcoin as they want. You know, they still have all the money and then control that. It's just disgusting.
Yeah. Oh, another prediction. I think we made one about metaverse. That's out. But Meta, Zuckerberg, they are riding the next wave of AI, and that in combination with them laying off most of their staff is helping their stock price tremendously. So they'll probably be okay.
What else did we say? Trump cards was one of them, but I don't remember which way we swung on that.
I'm not super optimistic that Meta is going to be okay.
I don't think they're going to be
Well,
okay.
I mean, I would say that still the vast majority of their revenue is advertising, and that is getting completely demolished.
Yeah, they're bleeding users. They're bleeding daily active users.
That's like the only profitable thing they have, isn't it? Is their advertising models?
That's it, yeah.
That's it. That's all they've got. That's the only thing that they built.
The reason that their advertising is profitable is because they have a shit ton of daily active users, and those daily active users numbers are sinking so dramatically that those are sinking right into the wall.
Access to information with stuff like the app tracking that's going away. Overall, this is something that is less easy to predict, but the way that language models are going to impact the like economics of advertising, I think, are going to be very profound.
But I don't think that's like causing an effect on it yet.
No, I don't think so. I'm just saying, like, if you're trying to forecast like the health of the company long term, I do think that their ability to respond to that
Do you think even like we already know that like most of the the youth has left Facebook for the most part, right? They migrated to like TikTok and all these.
I want to see the numbers on that.
And then I think
true,
like I think our generation has even kind of slowed our usage of
boomers
it.
are
Like,
the last bastion.
Yeah, do you think even the olds are starting to kind of like leave
one way or another?
Possible.
Around?
It's possible.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he's calling it. He's calling it.
No, he is, but I don't even mean that way. I just mean I feel like people overall are.
I think it's losing its luster.
Yeah,
I've heard the best comparison that I've heard is it's like the mall in the 90s.
Oh my god, yeah. Have you been to a mall recently?
That's what I mean. Like everybody used to hang out at the mall in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like that was the place to be. But now you're like,
You're like, I gotta go to the
I don't really
mall.
want to go to the mall.
Some of the malls aren't even malls anymore.
Yeah,
they're just like four. They're just like 4 department stores.
Drew doesn't even remember malls. I mean,
Well, I've been.
Drew has a secret entrance into the Apple store, and that's
I was literally about to say like probably the 10 times that I've been to the mall in the last 5 years, half of them were I had to do something at the Apple store.
yeah. It's just it's
yeah,
lost.
You had to, right? You had to go buy a big
More or
monitor or
less.
something
Well,
like
no,
that.
like I had to go or I didn't have to, but like I needed something to get. I need to repair something. Or
Yeah, Facebook has just lost its luster. Like its draw. It's just.
I mean, Twitter has too. Like, look at it. It's losing.
Well, that was kind of an unforced error.
I understand.
True. I think Twitter would have actually been in better standing if it because of the downturn of Facebook if Elon didn't step in
if he just didn't
pull his
fuck
craziness.
With it. Honestly, even if he did step in and just not fuck with it, if he would just left it alone, it would have been fine. Did you guys see that thing with Twitter where people were finding out that if you put in your profile like former blue check person, then it gave you the blue check mark?
Great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
former
links.
verified or something like that.
There's a lot of links and emails that are going out from Twitter that the links just go to localhost.
6 million people have watched the Super Mario Brothers movie on Twitter.
Just like somebody just posted it.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Posted like dozens of times. It keeps getting removed. I'm not kidding at all. I've been trying to look for it because I'm like, I don't feel like going to the theater.
I want to watch it. Yeah, why not? I'll watch it. Yeah.
We have friends that said it was fun. I watched it.
I'll watch it.
3 months ago, I was like, oh shit, it's all over because I was scrolling through and I saw a tweet that was like 12 hours old and the text was "fuck it, Iron Man." And it was just the entire, and it took like 2 days for it to come down. I was like, yeah, no,
I can't wait.
No, they're done.
Gonna check out. I'm gonna see if the new Guardians of the Galaxy.
Fuck it. Netflix needs to watch out because this is
seriously.
Fuck. Twitter is the new Pirate Bay.
Yeah, might as well. I was thinking about that this morning. It's like when I read that stat, and it's estimated 6 million people have watched Super Mario Brothers. And it's like, I wonder if it's such a paradigm shift from when we were younger and like Pirate Bay and all these, like you'd have a hide and it was always like this reclusive thing. You had to find like this IP or like way to get in or get an invite. Now it's just like, it's on Twitter.
Iron Man, 25,000 retweets.
Hide something right in plain sight.
You would download this like 100 gig file that turned out to be some jackass recording it with his own fucking camera.
And now you just screen share your phone to your Apple TV.
I downloaded this album. I forget what it was. It was that Billy Corgan after Smashing Pumpkins. He had that Zwang or ZZ or whatever whatever. He had this other band, and they released a new album. And I'm like, oh, check it out. Whatever. It's on whatever torrent service or whatever it is. I downloaded it, and it was just a repeat of like 4-second clips cut to the exact length of each song. Because you check the files and you're like, okay, does this look legit? So each song is this many minutes long or what have you, and because you could get tricked by just heavy nonsense or whatever. So it was literally 4-second clips of each song cut to the exact length. So it wasn't the album, obviously. It was just like repeated loops.
Like, why would you do that?
Somebody spent. It was probably Columbia or Geffen or whoever released that album.
Oh, that's true.
It's like how you
some intern had to do that.
That was their job. Releasing cuts of songs, and it's like every 15 seconds, there's just like some horrifyingly bad noise, like how in video game DMCA or whatever you call it is instead of telling you can't play it. They'll let you play for like an hour and a half, and then all of a sudden there's like an unkillable boss following you through every level, just rinsing you.
That's the best type.
That's the only way to do it. It's also similar to how I think we're gonna have to solve for crawling once GPT-4 with images comes out and captures are dead forever. Is that you'll have to start just poisoning your data randomly that people are trying to scrape.
What was it, Genius or one of those lyric sites did with Google? Because Google kept on scraping the content and then serving up lyrics for songs.
Mm-hmm.
So Genius just put fake crap in there to prove that they were scraping the data.
Amazing.
That's genius. Yeah.
That's genius.
Yeah, that was genius.
Yep. Pun intended. All right, episode 32.
Go home.
Go home. That's you can't stay here. You don't have to go home.
Closing time. Do you think, can we just start like adding that song at the end of every episode until somebody sues us?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. I'm not going to do that. But we do have a YouTube channel.
Do we?
Yeah, it's youtube.com/@WeDoCrime. And we have a voicemail that you guys have really been neglecting. And
yeah,
you know
we're
what?
going to shut that down.
You know what? Fuck it. Whatever.
Yeah.
If you guys don't care, we don't care.
I like having as much of the podcast be my voice as possible anyways. You know this.
Exactly. And that's at wedocrime.com/voicemail. And you know what? We don't love you because you're not leaving us a voicemail.
I still love you. But I'm still Tucker. I've been Tucker Carlson this whole time.
Okay, I love you.
I've been Tucker Carlson who like has strong feelings about hosting platforms.
I'm actually feeling bad for saying I didn't love you.
Strange love.
We love you. We love you.
Here.
It's fine. It's a platonic love. Don't worry. Don't be like weird about it.
All right. Well, good night. I'm assuming all of you are listening to this podcast at night. It's the best time to do it.
That's when it is for us, and we're very ethnocentric.
I actually listen to it while I drive.
At night, while you're going to sleep.
Do you watch this?
No, I haven't actually watched any of it.
Drive.
I recommend that you do watch this while you're driving. There's a lot of stuff
wasn't a
you
pun.
might miss.
I actually that's hilarious. It was not a pun. I listen to it when I drive.
Yeah.
I actually don't even get through the whole episodes because by the time I'm driving, I get through a little bit of it, and then the next episode's out.
One of these days, we'll figure out how to end on a high note.
Yeah. Well, this is not going to be that time. So see you later.
Now watch this drive.
And good luck.
So we have to protect our juniors.
We're not selling anybody's data. Now watch this drive.
I have a son. He's 10 years old. He has computers. He is so good with these computers.
We're not selling anybody's data. Now watch this drive.
So we have to protect our juniors.